welcome to GMIHub. Tonight is Studio Talk Night. I'm your host, Cheryl Dewick, and the topic tonight's going to be about pet peeves. We all have them. Even when we love what we're doing, we all have something that we just kind of roll our eyes and go, I wish this didn't happen, or things could be so much better. So we're going to have a chat about that. But before I introduce my co-host as well as the panelists that are going to be on with us, I just want to remind you that if you're watching GMI Hub for the first time, thank you so much for being here. Know that we have a whole slew, like over 120 episodes that are on our YouTube channel. So after you finish watching this particular one, feel free to scroll down and look at some other ones that we've had. We have lots of great information, lots of great people that we have had the pleasure of interviewing and having panel discussions. So please go there and feel free to like and subscribe to our channel as well, so that you are aware when we are going to have some more episodes, which are usually on Mondays. So also, I want to encourage you to check us out at GMIHub.ca. Here's the reason why. We're trying to build relationships with everybody, with you in particular. And, we would love to be in contact with you. We would love to be able to share ideas and actually hear from you as well. So we invite you to go check us out on GMIHub online, gmihub.ca, and sign up. Just sign up, give us your email address. And again, we can start having that conversation. We can try and celebrate with you when you're releasing songs or doing events. We can share some of the exciting things that are happening with GMI Hub as well. So we would love to have that conversation with you. We'd also want to keep you aware of events that we are doing, projects that we're doing that we want you to be a part of. So hey, just check us out. We can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. So definitely check us out there. You just saw a little ad there that what's coming up is a concert coming up with Fresh IE and 180. They're actually going to be coming to Mississauga, Ontario to do a live concert. And that's going to be after the artist showcase that we have. And we'll tell you more about that later on. So I did a lot of chatting, but you really, really want to meet all the people that are going to be on this episode. So like I said, this is Studio Talk, and I'm just the co-host tonight. The main host is my husband, Darryl Duke. Darryl.
I don't know. Do you really, really want to see me and hear me? I don't think so. It's not about me. I'm just along for the ride. I'm not the pretty face. I'm not even the brains of the organization. That's Cheryl. But yes, it's going to be a fun night talking about pet peeves. Pet peeves. This comes off of a discussion we probably had about 1.5 years ago on gas, gear acquisition
Yes.
syndrome, which kind of spun us around into pet peeves, but nobody wanted to go into that because at that point everybody's going, wow, we really shouldn't. I found a couple of guys that are going, yeah, we want to talk about some pet peeves. So we can go down that line and talk about pet peeves. I don't know if you want to introduce now, or do we want to go to something else, Cheryl?
Well, let's introduce our
let's
panelists.
Introduce the guys?
They are not.
Okay.
They are not strangers to GMI Hub Studio Talk. We've had them on before, and actually we found out we actually have them on a dynamic. I'm going to call them the dynamic duo right now because they've been on our program together once before. We have both of them are producers. We have Randy Hitz and we have Matt MacLeod. Welcome, guys. Say hello to the crowd.
Evening.
Hey.
Hey, so glad to have you both on here. So, guys, I guess I'm going to I could throw the first question, but I'm trying to be the co-host. So, Darryl,
you can throw the first question. You can throw the first question. I'll let you start it off.
Let's talk pet peeves, guys. I know that you like I said before, I know you guys love what you do. You have, like you were sharing, Randy, that you don't even have time to do what you love. It's like this is the gravy to do your studio work. And Matt, I see Facebook, I see you online, and you just share some stuff that just shows that you have such a passion. You love what you do, but even in the midst of what you love, there are some pet peeves that you end up encountering. Can you tell us a few stories about some pet peeves. And let's start with pet peeves within the studio, like any studio experience pet peeve stuff that may have happened.
Matt, do you want to go first or shall
You first, Randy.
I? All right. Well, where do I begin?
I don't want to say back to the beginning.
I think honestly, one of the biggest. It's not even a pet peeve. It's a frustration that I have especially when you're dealing with Christian circles, gospel circles. There are so many people who want to serve the Lord and they want to do things creatively, but sadly, they don't have the talent to produce something that is going to grab somebody's attention. And it's like, how do you tell somebody that they're just not really that good? I mean, it's like, I've steered a couple of people into rethinking how they write, how they, just the concept of how to build a song, for example. And the sad thing is that there's a lot of people that will shell out tons of money to go into a studio thinking they're going to come out with a Mercy Me project, and they don't ever come up with anything close to that.
And then it's your fault.
Yeah. See, that's where the rub is here. It's like, do we as producers, if we really do have talent, if we really know what we're doing, if we know what we're listening for, do we say, listen, I'm going to sit down and listen to your material. I don't want you to spend a boatload of money unless I know that you're prepared to do what's going to be best for you and have a viable product at the end of that. But us, especially musicians, I find the ones with the least amount of talent usually have the biggest egos, and they're usually the most defensive. So it's like the peeve that I have with that is like, it's a struggle to be able to just say, okay, when is when with that. And then you brought up something else real quick, and I'm going to pass it off to Matt. The industry wants to make money. The equipment systems companies want to make money. DigiDesign got out of giving you perpetual licenses years ago because they weren't making enough money. Every year we got to update it. We got to change how it is. Behind me down here at the bottom, I have old Pro Tools 192 head units. You know how I got those? I got those at a next to nothing when everybody jumped on the Thunderbolt bandwagon years ago. That's $20,000-$30,000 worth of stuff maybe 8 years ago. I got that whole rig for under just over $3,000 because everybody has to constantly update. This stuff sounds amazing still. There's no reason to be constantly going for the next, the next best thing. Yes, you have to tune your ears. You have to learn what works and what doesn't. But the music industry, equipment industry does a major disservice to everyone by how they approach what they sell to people.
And do they still support with the old stuff?
Well, they don't, but you've got to know how to maintain what you have. Like I have an old computer here, which I will not update the OS on because if you do that, it doesn't work anymore. There are certain things that you need to do. If you find something that works, you've got to take a computer, a studio machine, and don't even put it on the internet. Just unplug it and use it strictly as an operating system for a recording studio. And that's the biggest thing that people forget. They instantly update. And as I'm sure Matt can think of, driver issues. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I can send that into your court with pet peeves. How about driver issues for updates?
Yeah, I lost about I didn't lose too much time last week, but it was just last week. It was probably about half a day of work. I can't even remember what it was. It was one plugin that was, for whatever reason, just crashing my entire DAW. And it was just one little driver update. Took me 6 hours just trying to figure out what this one thing was. Anyways, yeah, I totally hear you. The constant push to level up, get the next new thing. I would say I'm going to steer a slightly different direction. And I'll share a story I think this will kind of encapsulate one of my biggest pet peeves as a producer. And this was probably about a year ago, and started working on a project with an artist. He's a great guy, and I still work with him today, but we had a bit of a hiccup in this first encounter, and it exposed a big pet peeve of mine. I started working with this artist. He's a great guy. He's he's down in the States. And he was coming to me, and he wanted to work on updating his sound. He wanted to popify his material. He's an older guy, and he came, and he wanted to work with a younger producer who is in that world a little bit more. That's a lot of what I do is in that sort of stream. And as we got started, we started working on this project together. I got around to sending him a first draft of, hey, this is the direction we've been going. This is what we talked about when we first started this together. Let me know if we're going in the right direction with this. Huge email, scrolling through this thing, and long story short,
took him longer to write the email than he did the song, right?
Well, he told me how long he took to write the email, and it just I didn't need to know that. Okay. Anyways, it all came back to what I realized. A pet peeve of mine is when artists come to a producer prematurely and without a vision, and they expect the producer to have the vision for them. And that's a really difficult position to be put in as a producer, because at the end of the day, that's the artist's song, it's the artist's project, it's their vision. And so I think when artists come too early and they expect to sort of find their vision as they go and come with a little bit of I have a kind of idea of a rough direction I kind of want this to go, but I'm open to and we're talking in this scenario, we were crossing 6 different genres by the end, and we had to just press pause and say, all right, hey, hold on, we gotta jump back and we gotta clear up what the vision is for this. And so when artists come too early and they don't have a clear vision, but they expect to find it along the way, I think that's a really, really big pet peeve of mine. And I think having a vision doesn't mean that you have to have a perfect demo at the start or anything like that. You don't have to have all the pieces put together. That's what we're here to help with. But to have at least a clear direction and a clear idea of, this is what I'm going after. Here's some examples of, the direction I'd like to go. And I'm I've thought a lot about this, and this is what I want to do. Let's do this. Anyways, that it's a tough situation to be in, and sometimes that just means saying, "Hey, I don't think we're ready to start right now." We can talk about setting a vision a little bit more, but I don't think we're ready to get started right now. So it's sometimes a tough conversation to have, but yeah. Anyways, that's one that comes to my mind. I don't know, Randy, if you've ever run into similar situations like that.
Yeah, I have. Actually, the problem is what I started doing whenever I dealt with anybody who wanted to, like, I don't know what I want to do with my music. You see what you're influenced by, but also if it's a singular artist that needs everything backing tracked, I'm generally not going to be the one who gets involved in that type of situation. I'm going to say, listen to what style of music you're trying to go down, what road you're trying to go down, but I don't know what is in your head. And what you need to do is you need to see what your influences are. What's making you, want to go in a specific, everything that's been done in the world as far as music has been pretty much touched on for the most part. There's always variants of the same thing, but there's got to always be something out there that's touching you, that's causing you to want to go in a direction.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to always, I find, ever set up to record, if it's a full band, is literally go, guys, I want you to go find a space that you have the controlled environment in, where you can sound exactly the way you sound, not some cheap rehearsal studio with beat to what equipment in it that sounds, everybody's been in rehearsal studios. We know how quality that stuff can be at times. It just sounds like we don't sound anything like ourselves here. Find a place where you're comfortable. Play me what you sound like. Then, if you want, see if I feel like I should get any more into your stuff and try to help you get better at it, I can pick things apart at that point. But I think, honestly, unless somebody's really going off in a direction where they want to get more poppy or they want to change what they sound like and do all this, there are guys out there that do that. I don't. I know, in fact, one of the guys who worked on my album did some of the leads. He does a lot of that arrangement. He's very good at it. But it's not common. And you have to, as a producer, I think you have to go, okay, well, what am I going to bring to the table? What is my set? This is what I do. This is what I can do. This is really something I don't think would be advantageous for any of us for me to try to do, because I might be wasting yours and my time and your money. It's fluid, because also as we get further on in learning our craft, we pick things up. So our inventory of what we can do gets bigger. But yeah, it's tough, because there's a lot of people who really think they're talented and they're not. But there are some people that you can pull the talent out of. Like my son was my guitar player for most of the leads on my album. He couldn't hear it. I would sit him down for hours and track the leads until I was like, that's right. There you go. And I pull it out of him. Like, one lead on one song took us 4 hours. Just the lead section. Because I'm going, like, I know you have more in you. I know we can push this harder. Kept rolling tape. Some people have that gift. Some people don't. But, I'm going off on a tangent that way. But, as far as what you're doing, yeah, I could see where you could kind of get boxed into a corner. Especially when you don't know what's in somebody's. You can never know what really is in somebody's head. My own material. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I was going to say, sorry, I'm jumping in again.
It's
But
fine.
It's interesting what you're saying though, and I love that view that there needs to be a vision for the song. And it's interesting because, as indie artists, or gospel artists that are wanting to get further along in their career, one of the challenges is to literally have a business plan, if you want to call it, for their song. Now, I don't know if that's what you're thinking of in terms of a vision. Is it kind of like vision, mission, and all that stuff? What's the purpose of the song? Who are you trying to reach, et cetera, et cetera? And is that part of what you're hoping that an artist will come to you with? Or are you thinking have a vision for the style of the song and where you think it should go in terms of it, it should be very explosive in this spot and then very quiet at this spot or anything like that. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you mean by vision and what would help you as a producer, if an artist came with this vision. What does that look like?
I think, honestly, the first thing you got to do is you can't put the cart before the horse. If you create a project and that person develops what he or she feels is going to be where he wants to go with the song, they want to go with the song. Once the song is developed and really the tracks are laid and it's produced, then you go, okay, now this is a specific kind of genre. You really should market in this direction. Or if you feel like you're just trying to witness to the world, if it's Christian material, you go, you know something? I want to put it out there and let God take care of the rest and use it whatever way he sees fit. That, honestly, like my material is more rock oriented on my personal stuff. Darryl was doing some interesting comparisons to what my material sounded like. He said something today that I had never heard before, which is pretty funny. And I'm going to share it with my singer later, but that's sidetrack. But I just want to get the material out there, and I want to get a project. I want to get a product out there that when somebody turns that on, they're not turning that thing off within the first 15 seconds. Especially if you're trying to minister to the world, to the lost of all, which leads into a different pet peeve. I don't know whether you want me to go there, because that goes down another
Actually,
road.
I'm going to jump in here first, and then we're going to go there. I think because we briefly talked about that, and Matt, you made a post on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week, about it. But before we go down there, because we're talking about gear and the pet peeves of the gear, and then we're talking about kind of a little bit of the pet peeves, somebody coming in not really knowing what to do. Pet peeve of mine is not so much even studio and talking with people who are wanting to go into the studio. I always ask, what's your budget? And they go, well, I got lots of money. And he says, so is that $500 a song, $1,000 a song, $2,000 a song? I'm going, oh, right? Because the moment they tell you what their budget is for the song or for the project, I go, now I know how much they're having. But the big thing is it's, well, I got $2,000 and I want to sound like whoever the person is that they're listening to that's in the top 40 of their genre. It's like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We've known guys, and we've been over the last 2 years just talking with guys, and it's like, if you're not putting the same amount of money into the marketing as you are for the whole album, you're not going to get heard. And I'll put that in quotes because there's always proof that somebody can do it differently. But the reality is there's a business plan on how you get your song. And people aren't paying attention to that, then they're never going to get anywhere. I don't know what it costs. Well, go buy it. I've never been in a studio. Well, go buy a microphone, try recording. Well, I've got some lyrics. Well, do you have anybody who plays guitar? They don't. That's where guys like Matt step in, and they really get taken. I don't want to say taken to the cleaners, but they get run through the washing machine because people are saying they don't know what they're doing. And they know what they're doing. They just got the best out of what was left to them. So that's a pet peeve, is watching guys come in and taking the producers and trying to beat them up and try and get something out of them for nothing, or just saying that they're bad, and it wasn't the producers. It was the artists coming in. But
and I'll just say,
me to, yep.
Sorry, no, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to go down to the post that you put up last week. I think was the kind of the one I was wanting to go with. You want to go there now? Or do you want to
I'm not
make
sure
your
which
statement?
post that was, but yeah, we can go there.
Okay. Well, do you want to make your statement first?
Let me count the ways.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with, some of those expectations, budget being one of like the most obvious ones. That just needs to be right up front and clear of, it's managing expectations. It's making sure that, if we're going to work together, we're actually going to be the right fit for what you want to, if you're at point A right now and your vision is to go to point B, am I the right fit to do that? Or, is somebody else going to be a better fit to help you get from A to B? But if they don't know what their point B is, then, nobody can really help out in that, scenario, because, if I don't know where you want to be at the end of this, then
there's just not enough money.
Some of them you'll never have enough
there's
money.
Just not. I'm sorry. There's just not enough money or time.
Okay,
Sorry,
so we'll
guys,
jump
I
down to, I guess, pet peeve 2. And that
can I jump in on this? If you have something you want to make pet peeve 2?
I was going to lead off, but if you're wanting to go pet peeve 2, you can do that. I was going to jump on the post that Matt made, and we were briefly talking before the show started. That was if somebody's making an album and they're a Christian, are they wanting it for the world? I know you did a really cool post on that, Matt.
I'm just going to go to my page and see exactly what I said.
And I know we were briefly talking about that, so I'm trying to paraphrase a couple different guys. And are you doing the song for you? Are you doing the song for the church? Are you doing it for God/outreach? And are you a Christian that's performing a song?
That's a touchy
Those are great.
Right there,
it gets a great pet peeve because it's like,
oh yeah,
I've got this great song I want to do for the whole world, and it's a praise and worship song singing "I Love You, Jesus," and it's like, the guys who I work with probably wouldn't be. They say a lot about Jesus, but it's usually not in the light that you want to hear in a church setting.
Was it talking about artists looking at their audiences as flocks to shepherd?
Yes.
Or that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a touchy subject, boy.
It is.
But that's part of that vision, right?
Yeah, but you also you're getting into people's interpersonal feelings and attitudes and, like motivations. It's like, if you're going to try to give out something, produce something for the Lord, you better make sure your heart's right too. Because, and then you're trying to call out another Christian on their, are you God? No, it's motivation is very dangerous when it comes to musicianship and Christianity. It's bad enough with musicians, and their motives, let alone trying to make it musicians and Christian. That gets dangerous quickly. But go ahead, Matt. You guys, I want to hear what you have to say on this.
No, I think I guess if I had to attach that to a pet peeve of mine is when people don't, and this is yeah, we got to preface it with, this is targeted towards people who are actually out there actively trying to build a following around themselves as an artist. They're looking to build up more of a fan base, have people actually following along, and not, fan base, but not so much the worship artist who wants to just record the song that, the Lord gave them in their quiet time and just have that as meant to be between them and the Lord, because that's a totally different, scenario.
Yes, it is.
And that's totally fine. But I see it more for artists that it's almost, if you're going to be pursuing building up a big following, and ultimately it's a pursuit of influence, through your platform, through your art, through whatever you're putting out, content, whatever it might be. If you're pursuing that and pursuing that influence, I think it's sometimes a selfish thing not to, and you are a believer, it's not a selfish thing, or it's a selfish thing not to use that as an opportunity to serve people and to use your influence and to use your platform, your art, to encourage people. If your pursuit of influence is all self-centered and, I want more people to like me, I want more people to, I want the followers, I want the count that comes with that, all that stuff, that's why, like, that's selfish. And if it's more pursuit of influence for the benefit of helping more people, and it's kind of an entrepreneurial mindset in a sense, you're building up a platform to help more people, you're putting out better music to be able to connect with more people and help more people, that becomes a very selfless motivation. I think it's a very humble pursuit, which is weird. You're gaining influence, but it's a very humble influence. So I think, and I know that opens up a huge can of worms when there isn't time to talk about it. And
part 2.
And we're online, which really makes it issues.
Yeah. Well, leave it with just a Facebook post, and maybe that wasn't the best post to make, but whatever. Yeah, so I think when you're, that's definitely a pet peeve, when there's a motivation of that kind of growth that is, I guess, for lack of better words, a selfish pursuit.
Okay.
Okay.
You got something you wanted to ask a question to Cheryl? No? Yes.
I was just going to summarize. So what I'm hearing, so pet peeves so far have been with equipment. With equipment, it's been the constant upgrades when not all upgrades are required or needed to get the best sound or get the best use of producing music. That's the only equipment one I've heard. And then the other one would be just more the pet peeves with people or the artists, or whoever we're working with, having high expectations, kind of putting producers on a kind of on a god level, so to speak. Like, you're supposed to know what my vision is. You're supposed to know what the song can do. You're supposed to be able to do X, Y, and Z, which is very uncomfortable for a person in your position, because you're just human and you're not inside the heads of the other people, which is so true. And I think it works both ways. Like, artists, you don't know what's inside the head of a producer. Producers don't know what's inside your head. So the best way to deal with that is open communication. Ask the questions, and don't be offended when you are asked questions, because it's all about sharing that information and kind of getting things out in the open, getting it clear so everyone can be on the same page with your project. And there's a greater sense of or greater probability of a more successful and pleasant work relationship. Am I right about that, guys?
Yep.
No?
About covers it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll jump down pet peeves here a little bit more for in the studio. And what about stuff that people do in the studio that really, really just irk you? Want to just go out there and strangle them? Like somebody grabbing the microphone around the bass, or jumping around as you're trying to sing.
Oh, come on. This one's easy, Darryl. Dude, you're not playing in Madison Square Garden. You don't need your amplifier on 11. Come on. Or the drummer that has no finesse whatsoever. Okay, break out every compressor we have in the building. This guy's beating the snot out of his drum kit. I mean, those are pretty much the simple, straightforward ones. But the other thing, honestly, like I said earlier, not being prepared. You come into the studio, you need to be rehearsed. You need to know what you're going to lay down, because then you're wasting. And as a producer, we have an obligation to tell these people, you've got to rehearse the heck out of anything you're going to play. Because when you come in here, every minute is money. And if you're not ready, you're going to waste a whole lot of money doing nothing. The other pet peeve that Darryl brought up earlier, make sure your guitars are in tune. And also, here's another thing. But, I mean, that's kind of a comic relief deal. But this is one of my big ones. And I am a bassist and a guitarist. I started trying out on drums. I found it boring as all get out when I was a kid. Big, clunky, humongous drumsticks on a pad bored me to tears. And that was what I had. You know, I couldn't relate. No, let me rephrase that. That's not accurate. A lot of drummers do not know how to tune their own drum set. Mm. If that was the biggest peeve I have, it's like you come in, it's like, ping, ping, let's crank the skins up as high as we can. Okay, this is the pitch I want for here. That's not what the drum is. Proper drum heads. Coming into the studio with a drum set that has got new heads on it, not heads that are 80 years old, dented through to where if you hit one shot really tight, your stick's gonna go right through the drum. Knowing how your drum set is supposed to sound. Also, well, I won't even go there. But, you know, making sure, you know, being prepared and rehearsed, also make sure that your equipment is ready, because anything that fails is money and time. If you go, we start making up your drum set and it sounds like garbage cans, guess what? You're going to record garbage cans. It's, you know, it's common sense. But the problem is a lot of musicians don't think of that. They don't, and I hate to say this, a lot of drummers don't think of that. You know, they just come in and think, oh yeah, the studio will just take care of this later. Garbage in, garbage out. And I digress.
Drummers, eh?
Drummers, eh? Are you a drummer, Matt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Three drummers out of the four that are here.
Well, then you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's really sad.
What about you,
I
Matt?
honestly, I was gonna say I don't have a whole lot to add to that. Mainly because I'd say about 95% of my work is all done remotely. So I don't have a whole lot of interaction, you know, with people in real life. It's all done remotely. And
God bless you.
Yeah. But for the times where I do have people in, it's usually vocalists. Because I don't record bands. That's not what I do. I have session guys who they'll send me stuff for, you know, for other instruments that I need. But people who do come in, usually vocalists, and exactly what Randy said is just making sure you practice beforehand and you know what you're going to do, you know what you're going to sing, you know what's expected of you as well, so that there's, you know, the least amount of curveballs is ideal. So make sure you've got notes, you've got stuff planned ahead of time, and that should be up to, you know, the producer to be able to prepare ahead of time with you, so you know exactly all that you need to be ready for. But it's up to the artist to be ready for it. That I don't honestly have a whole lot to add other than what Randy said. I think you
What's
covered
really
a lot of
funny is
bases.
the way a lot of people are doing home studio recordings these days. Record labels are really not getting involved in a lot of stuff as much as it used to, obviously, because the technology's changed that. But the thing is that in the old days, a lot of people didn't understand this, but the record labels would cultivate an artist. Do you guys know what cultivating an artist means? Cultivating an artist means you bring them into the studio for like a year or so, and you go, this is how it's done. This is how you approach singing into a microphone. This is how you approach playing instruments in a recorded environment. Because when you're live, it's a lot different than a controlled environment. Live can be very forgiving in some ways. Recording studios are a microscope. Every little thing you do is accentuated within a recording. And a lot of these people who have raw talent, they would take them and they would put them in studios and music environments with session players for 8, 10, 12 months. So they start to get an idea of what the heck they're supposed to do. They don't do that anymore because a lot of it's all home done.
Yep.
So,
my couple pet peeves. I don't do much studio stuff, but one of them is the instruments aren't prepped. So you got buzzes out of the guitars. The lugs are loose inside the drums, so when you record them, you're hearing them rattle. Guys put brand new bass strings on.
The hi-hat pedal.
The squeaky hi-hat, just kick drum pedals. The guy who put the brand new bass strings on just before he came in, and they haven't stretched out, and they won't stay in tune because they haven't finished stretching out. Or the guitar player who's going, I haven't broken a string in a year, so I can still use these for the recording session. Those are pet peeves. Nice. The other one is, which is with the vocals, is a lot of vocalists should probably spend time with a vocal coach before they step into the studio. Just get them into the proper breathing, the proper tonality. Spending 3 or 4 hours just making sure you're ready when you walk in. The 4 hours that you spend with a vocal coach is probably way better than spending 8 or 10 hours with a producer trying to tell you many different ways that you're doing it wrong. Right?
That's hysterical.
Oh, it is. It's funny. Another pet peeve is this will actually pick on you guys a little bit, is producers who don't like having anybody at all in the room during tracking or mix down session as well, to be the eyes and the ears for the person who's shelling out the money. And there's a caveat on that, because how many times there's somebody that's just sitting there talking over top of the guy mixing, or the producer always second guessing. That's what not the job is to do, but how many times have I heard an artist come on going, oh, the producer didn't want to do this, or I left it to the producer and they completely did it the wrong way. And then you hear the producer going, all I had was this person in my ear just yapping at me all day long, trying to learn what I'm doing. So there's pet peeve on both sides. And where is the right sit on that? So.
The sound man's worst line, as he presses it on the side of his booth, I'm not the DJ.
No, you put the sign on the lighting guy's back when you're doing live events. I'm the DJ.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's what video guys do.
It's a good thing that I have my own studio in my home. So it's like I can choose who I let through the door. I'm like, I make something down, I send it out, I send out the stems via email. I go, how do you like it? Okay, you want to change this, this, and this? That's fine. I'm in my environment. I work at my pace, and I'm not getting, But I understand. There's a lot less of that these days with our environment. But I was wondering, Darryl, if I can go off into a direction that I was so dying to do when we first.
Okay, you go off into your direction.
Okay, here we go. You spend boatloads of time mixing songs and getting them to sound amazing. and you have a
Oh.
kid with a set of earbuds on an iPhone, listening to the songs, going, "Oh, this sounds great," and then you go, "Kid, I'm going to break out that thing called vinyl over there onto a system with big speakers. And I want you to tell me if it sounds like your iPod or your phone." Gee, why does that sound like that? That's called sonics. That's called resolution. I'm gonna throw these all out, and then you guys just answer. I'll just sit back and enjoy the show. Beating a premise into the ground. Christians, country, rock, you name it. Oh, we found something that makes money. Let's take that premise and beat it into the ground. The originality goes completely out, and you hear the same thing over and over and over. And then we go into something that I find that I had to really speak to musicians and their rights. Streaming rights and the cost of concerts and the effects of what streaming has done to the industry. The musicians have gotten completely stripped of all of their earnings, pretty much. And the laws have to change in regards to that. It affects the concert sales because the artists have to boost the sale of the tickets through the moon in order to make the tours work. Because you got to pay the mouths that work the concerts, the shows, and you got to make some sort of a profit, you know.
Hold on. What's the cost of a typical arena theater or arena ticket? $150, $200
on average.
How much of that goes to the artist, and how much does that go to the
promotions,
Ticketmaster?
Yeah, and the tickets, and then and let's not talk about the secondary market. You know, when somebody buys up a zillion tickets and turns around and sells them for double, triple of what they're originally worth.
Which a lot of that's happening. So it's like it's tough because I see it on a few of the different ends. We're putting on an event and watching how expensive it gets to do, you know, the Fresh IE and 180 concert. But it's like, but how are people dropping $250 to go see a band, and that's not even the scalp prices? And then how much is ticket? Like, you look at that, it's like, why are the ticket prices going up when really nothing has changed in a lot of the costs? There's a bunch that has gone up this year, but it's like, why are they going up? That's a pet peeve. Why are the prices going up the way they are? And the artist is not getting the money on the touring live stuff, like the studio, the airplane, all that. That's a whole direction.
But on top of it, it's like it's a combination of things. So a lot of the things that went when they were everybody's trying to make up for COVID, for one thing, all the losses that they had. I mean, they want to make their money no matter what. But the biggest issue is the musicians don't have really any way. I mean, professional musicians are really not making an income anymore, hardly. I mean, the streaming, you know, you look at some of the major artists out there, their revenue from streaming it's absurd how small it is. It's criminal. So, I mean, it's got to be made up somehow. And I just don't know what the answer is, but everybody got too much access to music free. And it just, it's become a real huge problem. So I
think that's why you see so many artists now that feel the pressure of having to be like a content creator as well, because, you know, they're like, well, I'm not getting anything from streaming. How can I monetize this platform that I have? Because I have all these, I have everyone listen to my music. I have all these followers and stuff, but I'm not making anything. And so I feel like there's a huge rise now in just the expectation of a lot of artists to have to, you know, do the whole thing themselves, do the whole, you know, develop themselves, build up the brand, you know, do the whole thing. And yeah, it forces the expectation of a lot of artists. They feel like they have to, you know, become like content creators or, you know, online
Their own
personalities or whatever.
Yeah, their own distributors, their own everything. And that I'm not going to even mention the band that we were talking about earlier. It's like they do it all themselves, and the product suffers. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, it's just I just see the industry. It's like what I'm doing now. I know I'm not going to make anything, get rich on it. I'm just doing it because I really feel I need to get it out there. But any musicians today, I mean, the way it is today, how could you ever think you'd want to become a musician, a professional musician in this world, unless something changes? You know, because the record labels, I mean, look at the record labels were folding left and right. They were losing money hand over fist. And it's just, you know, it's like the creation of music is a very important thing in our lives. It's critical, whether it's gospel, whether it's anything. It's music drives us. It gets us through things. It gets us through pain. It gets us away from all our distractions. It's an integral part of our lives. And I think it's more than, the time has more than come that there is something done in regards to regulating and making sure that the people that create this amazing material get paid for it properly. Probably my biggest.
I think there's a lot of artists, Randy, a lot of artists are sitting there or standing up and probably clapping on that one because it is so true. You know, the expenses. And I heard someone else, one of our other panelists in a previous show said that when really broke it down to, you know, an artist is expected to spend the money, like first to write the song, which is time, and then go ahead and record the song, which is time and money, right? And then they're supposed to market the song and do a launch, and you know the dollars that they have to spend in order to get one song out ends up being like this, like just huge, thousands of dollars. And yet when they finally can put their song out in the market, they can only charge $1 if they have to, if at all. And then they have to get it on stream. They try to get it on the Spotify's and all the other streaming locations. And because of the 50 billion songs that are being uploaded on a daily basis, their song is competing for ears. And I believe because of the number of songs that are being uploaded, the return on per stream is like billionth of a penny or something like that. Like I'm probably saying the wrong numbers, but point being is that it's not like a penny per stream or even $1 per stream. It is like a fraction of a penny of that they're getting back. So in order to even see $1, their streams or the number of streams on a song has to be in the thousands before they see actually some money coming back to them. And it does get frustrating. It's a pet peeve from the artist perspective. And there is a need for the industry to change. How that's going to change, I don't know. I don't know. I'm like you guys. I don't know the answer either. But hey, I'd love to find the answer and make it happen. You know, just
now, I will say
make it easier on everybody.
Isn't SoCan? I gotta clarify. Wasn't SoCan looking at a couple of the other social media platforms that weren't paying into that and looking at trying to get money out of them too?
CMR. It's not SoCan, but CRMMA actually does that. They look into talking to the different platforms and working with them, or at least getting them to start paying for some royalties, basically, if their songs are if songs are being played. So TikTok, for example, is like the newest craze in terms of social media, and I believe that that they've been approached as well about, paying royalties as people are sharing their music on there, you know, and same with any other platform, and any place else, um, I don't know, restaurants, elevators, anywhere, corporations that just play music, they have to pay for that. They have to pay royalties. And so there are collectives, you're correct in that, there are collectives that are trying to do their best to find where music is being played and trying to figure out how to get those contracts in so that artists and the players involved with each song can actually get some remuneration for the efforts and of what they've produced and what they've created together.
And I'm going to jump in here, and I might get my hand slapped for this later on during the week from the rest of our team. But we've talked about this a little bit, because GMIHub is here to help the artists, the producers, the engineers, the live guys, to help in the industry. And one of the things we've been saying is, what can we do to help the artists? Because where can they get their music heard? So we've been talking about as a team that we're wanting to start creating a playlist of music for those who are members or people who are, we'll use members for the working term right now, who are members who are gave us their email. You send us one song a month and we'll create a playlist and start sticking songs on there, because there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in the background that can open the door up for us. But if you're an artist, send us your email and then send us a link to one song, and we will try and stick that on a playlist. And we actually have a Christmas playlist coming up soon that we're going to be sticking out. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun. I'll probably get in trouble for this later on this week. But sorry, I'm doing it. You guys open up the door. We're doing it.
Surprise!
Oh, there, we're doing it now. Surprise! We're doing it. I will get in trouble. I know that now. Oh well. Peeve of some of my some of the guys on the team, I push forward on stuff and it's not okayed. But oh well. It's yes. We'll just leave it at that. So it's yes.
I just want to add something to kind of what we were just chatting about as well, and kind of looking at it almost from a flip side as well as the amount that artists are missing out on how their songs are being consumed and used and not getting the return. It's more than ever right now. But on the flip side as well, there's more opportunities now than there have ever been for music and for artists. With social media, TikTok is a huge example of, how one song can really totally, take off and completely flip somebody's life around. That's not to say that that's, the goal. Like, hey, just keep trying and you'll get something viral eventually. Like, that's not the goal. But you see that happen now more than ever before, because there's so much, everyone's attention is online. Look at opportunities, more and more with social media, there's more and more content being created. Brands looking for music to use, to license for commercials, for TV shows, for, there's more of that being created now than there's ever been before. So there's a lot of opportunities, a lot more opportunities. But at the same time, there's a lot more music being put out now than there has ever at the same time. So more music, but also so many more opportunities for that music to be used. So it's I think in a lot of ways it's adopting the mindset of what are some of the new ways that music is being consumed and used, and looking at exploring some of those opportunities as well, because there's so many new ones like that out there now. But anyways, that was just to tag on to what we were just chatting about.
That's great, and that's so true. There are opportunities, and that's one thing that as Darryl said, we're always trying to help the artists, and we want to help the producers too. Like if there's ways that we can help you guys, we'd love to be able to do that. But this is one of those things that we want to help artists with, is trying to find ways to get their music to these different opportunities that are available. And we're looking forward to actually sharing that in future episodes, having conversations where these opportunities can be available, and having panelists to talk about that for you. So I hope that you will tune in for those particular conversations. And producers, what can I say? I I know that we love giving you a platform to share, because I don't really think, like, guys that are behind the scenes, the people that are behind the scenes don't always get a chance to share what they go through to do what they do to support the art that's out there. They have just as much of a passion as an artist who's songwriting or singing or playing an instrument. They have just as much of a passion to get quality music out there. And literally it is, we hear the term collaboration, and literally it is a collab between singer, musician, songwriter, producer, and everybody else involved in that. It's a team effort. It's very much a team effort. No one does this on their own. So I know we've talked about pet peeves tonight, and I'm hoping that through this is not meant to be a gripe session. It was meant to open the eyes of our listeners to actually find out what exactly, when we go in and we think things should go one way, and yet how things are perceived, or how we may be putting expectations on producers, for example, that are not really realistic expectations, and literally the need to, like I said before, have a conversation and not be offended by questions, because you can ask questions too, right? And it's literally about getting information. It's literally about opening the door. It's also very valuable to be prepared. Producers want you prepared when you go to them, and they want to know the who, what, where, why, and how of your music, just to help them know how to better serve you. So, so great for you to have us. Matt, Randy, so glad that you were here. Darryl, thanks for hosting tonight and talking. So great to have you here. We'll be back next week with the Daniel Band. We have members of the Daniel Band that are going to come on board, and we're going to just talk to them about Daniel Band and Pass, and where they're at right now, how things are going with them. So we look forward to you connecting with us next week on GMIHub Online. Until then, have a great week, and we'll see you later.